مساء الخير. أم، اوكي، بصوا انا مش معايا سلايدز، فلو حابين تيجوا لقدام هيبقى الكلام يعني الكونفرسيشن اقرب والطف يعني، فلو تقدروا تيجوا لقدام يا ريت. أم، هنشوف فيديو. which one؟ طيب قبل ما اشغل فيديو، احنا النهارده هنتكلم عن الديليد جراتيفيكيشن وتأثيرها على صنع القرار بعدين وعلى الصحة النفسية في حياة الفرد. فاحنا هنتكلم دلوقتي من منظور الطفل، أهمية إن احنا ن- yes I did. آه، لو تحبوا يبقى يا ريت يبقى أفضل. Okay, sounds good. Okay. طيب فأنتوا عارفين تقريبا معظمنا عندنا أطفال يعني، ف اكيد في مواقف الطفل يعني واحد من اطفالكم قال انا عايز حاجه وخرب الدنيا عشان ياخدها. و so if you didn't get your child what he needed they would throw a tantrum, right? ولو بصينا على حياتنا احنا يعني as adults, if you kind of like just reflect on your own life you might find some stuff that you cannot wait for. Like if you need it right now. If you want it, you want it right now. For some of us, that could be coffee. For some of us, that could be food. That could be like right when we wake up in the morning, we have to get our phone, and then we might kind of like scroll on some videos or like kind of check the news or whatever that is. It just we have to get it right now. That's what instant gratification is like. It's like I cannot wait. I cannot wait to get that thing. And when I say cannot wait, it doesn't mean that it's like an expression that you're longing for it or like you're really excited to see it. No, it's like I want it and I want it now. So children are not born with that skill or like that capacity to wait for something. When they see candy, they have to eat it right away. And sometimes they can't have enough of it, right? When they see now it's screens, right? If they have a PlayStation or if they have like a toy that they like, once they start playing, they just can't stop. Or once they see it, they have to play with it. Okay, sometimes you take your kids and you go to someone else's house, and they see some toys there, or candy, and then all of a sudden they jump on that toy, or they just grab candy, or they would tell you they want candy and they just cannot turn their eyes away from the candy, right? And now, if you tell your child, no, that's not your candy, you wait until we get home and I will give you some candy. Or if you say, no, that's not your candy, you cannot have any more candy for the day because you had enough sugar, and it's not good for you. And if they do be like, okay, I get it, and then they wait for next day to get some candy, now they are developing the skill of delaying gratification. okay? But if they cannot, that means that it's a warning sign that we need to work with our kids to be able to delay gratification, to delay getting what they want. And again, the challenge nowadays is with social media and online shopping and quick delivery and and just if you want something, go to the store and you get it. Buying is so easy with a credit card, and then you get stuck with all these bills. It creates in us as adults that tendency to just kind of like fulfill that instant gratification. Most of us come from countries where buying a car is a long-term goal. You don't just go buy a car. You have to save for it. You have to decide which car you want, or you have to know some good people who will not cheat you when they're selling the car. Well, we live in a country and in a time and age where you can go and within 1 hour you can take a brand new car and leave. Okay? It's as easy as that. Well, you're going to be stuck with payments for 5 years, but who cares, right? Because I just got that new car in 1 hour. 1 hour. I remember a friend of mine, when we first immigrated to the States, we went to the Apple store, and then he bought a brand new iPhone, the latest model, and he was approved for Apple's credit card in just like 3 minutes. And in 5 minutes, we were both walking outside the store with 2 brand new latest versions of iPhones. He was in shock. Now, the dopamine in his brain was up the roof, and the adrenaline and all that, and excitement and enjoyment was just like amazing. And as human beings, we would like to sustain that. We want to keep it at maximum. But our brains are not wired to handle that much dopamine the long run, okay? Because then, well, I mean, yeah, and I mean, right, but then, our psyche is very smart. Well, maybe if he wakes up from the dream at that moment, that's good for him, because that means that moving forward, he's not going to make such decisions. But if the psyche, our soul, our self, keeps justifying why we did that, and we keep focusing on that dopamine rush, right? We keep making those decisions, those bad decisions, those untimely decisions, okay? So, with that being said, keep that in mind, and we're going to watch this video that talks about delayed gratification in children and its impact on them 40 years later.
What's the biggest predictor of success in life? Brains, rich parents, good looks? None of those, say the experts. The biggest predictor is, can you delay gratification?
All right, here's the deal. Marshmallow, for you. You can either wait, and I'll give you another one if you wait, or you can eat it now.
It smells yummy. It smells really good.
So can he stand to wait to eat it? This is an experiment that's been tried in many forms with many kids, but the idea is always the same. Test whether a child will eat the candy now or get twice as much if he can wait 15 minutes. As you see here, most kids cannot wait. Only about a third were able to delay, often distracting themselves by looking away. But about a third were able to wait 15 minutes.
How'd you do?
And earn the extra candy.
You wanted to eat it, didn't you? Yeah. So did I tell you to give you another one? Okay, now you can have both.
The first group of kids who took this test 40 years ago were followed and tested years later. The kids who didn't eat marshmallows had SAT scores 200 points higher.
213 points higher on average. They were happier, healthier.
The kids who successfully delayed gratification at this age do much better later in life. Not just better in school, but they make more money. They are happier. They have better relationships, and they're less likely to get into trouble. But the kids who ate the marshmallows, many of them were in trouble.
Yes.
Joaquim de Posada replicated the marshmallow experiment in South America. The kids behaved the same way North American kids did.
Take a look at this girl. She's actually hyperventilating. She wants the marshmallow badly. They're playing mind games in order not to eat the marshmallow.
Most gave in.
That kid could not wait not even 10 seconds.
This doesn't mean that he'll fail in life, but the researchers say it does mean he's more likely to struggle.
So then you'll have to.
So, since the data show the ability to delay gratification is really important,
So how do you teach this to kids?
You teach them skills that will take them to a position where they know that they have to work hard and persevere in order to get whatever they want to get in life.
We all have marshmallows that we want now, but some of us have learned to wait.
Susan Merrill runs the parenting advice website iMom.
When your kids wanted things, you told them you save up for it.
They each had 3 sets of clear jars, share, save, spend. You want to buy something, save your money, it's yours.
And seeing the money in the jars reminded them to wait.
It's really good for them to see that money grow. They get into it. How much have you saved? I've saved this much.
It doesn't need to be money.
Prizes, privileges, or praise.
When her kids really wanted something, they could have it, but only after they spent a while doing something that was hard for them.
Megan was potty training. She wanted this Ariel Mermaid doll. So throw in the prize, the doll, put it up on the piano. Megan, 3 days staying dry, and you're gonna get that doll. Boom, she did it. She knew success. You can do
She
this.
could look at the doll.
But she couldn't have it.
What if the child demands a doll now and throws a fit? It's important not to give in to a tantrum. Giving in teaches kids the opposite of delayed gratification. This commercial offers a clever take on it. The boy wants a bag of chips right now. Instead of giving in, mom imitates him.
She looks at him like, no. He's embarrassed. He puts the chips back, and that's the end of that.
What's the moral?
You really, really can work with your kids. I think sometimes parents are just too busy to be consistent, or they're too fearful that their child is not going to like them.
Also,
Lead by example, because it's not what you teach, it's how they see you behave. You have to teach a child that they should save money for the rainy day, so they have to see you save money. Okay? Kids have to see you do whatever you want them to do.
finally, kids will only learn to wait if they see that delaying gratification leads to something good. Parents must follow through, do what they say.
This means that you have to keep promises.
If parents don't keep promises, kids are less able to wait for a reward. In this version of the marshmallow test, researchers first promised kids,
if you can wait for me to go get some from the other room, you can use our big set of art supplies instead.
but then they break their promise.
Well, listen, I'm so sorry, but I actually don't have that big set of art supplies I told you about.
Once the promise was broken, kids were much more likely to eat the marshmallow.
If I eat 100 marshmallows, I'll be filled.
His trust in the adult message, if you delay gratification, you'll get something better, had been broken.
If a parent is not consistent, then the child will not trust that they will get what is promised. We do this as moms all the time. We say, in a minute. Mom, will you come play with me? In a minute. And so we're really teaching children that we don't always mean what we say.
The bottom line, tell kids the truth. Teach them the benefits of waiting when they're young.
Did you know I'd not eat this marshmallow yet?
And reward them when they do wait.
3 marshmallows.
3 of them.
Okay. Now, the point of kind of like talking about delaying gratification is that it kind of like hits really directly into entitlement, because you hear that a lot from parents, and like we get that also in the mental health field a lot, that the kids are just, they feel entitled to getting certain things. So what is the relationship between entitlement and delayed gratification? Actually, entitlement is a much deeper belief than delaying gratification, than like wanting something. Entitlement is this idea or the belief that you deserve to be treated in a certain way. despite whether you worked for it or not. So, for example, like I should just pass exams because I go to school every day. Well, going to school every day is not going to guarantee you getting good grades. If someone cannot, like, if they keep making bad financial decisions and they are unable to buy a house or like an apartment, they blame the inability to buy the house on, you know, the circumstances or inflation, while the original issue, the main reason, is their bad financial decisions. That's entitlement. It's like, it's not me, it's not my fault. It's the economy's fault. It's the teacher's fault. It's you know, when we're not getting good grades or when children are not getting good grades. And like going into, for example, like going into a restaurant, or you know, coming to church, we look for special treatment. That's different from anyone else. So where does that sense of entitlement come from when we're raising our kids, you think? Why do we have some kids who feel entitled that you as a dad or a mom need to have everything ready and prepared exactly the way they want it, when they want it, at all times? Why do you think kids feel that way sometimes, or behave that way? Ideas? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
هو احيانا لما الاب والام يبقوا مدلعين الولاد قوي وكل الوقت بيدوهم كل اللي هم عايزينه، الولاد بيوصلوا لمرحله ان انت لو اخرت مره، لا انت اللي غلطان، انت اللي فيك حاجه غلط مش انا.
Okay, so when you don't say no at all to anything and then you get them whatever they want, when you miss one time, now it's your fault. Okay? Great, thank you. Yeah. I don't want a right or wrong answer. I want a realistic experience here. Like, I want a realistic answer. Why do you think some children would have a sense of entitlement?
I think sometimes we don't express to the kids how difficult it is to get something, or how expensive it is, or how, like, we don't talk about the whole issue or the item. It's like, I want, you take. Here it is. But we don't tell them, you know, I had to give up this in order to save the money, or, you know, this is almost 1/3 of my check this month, and you know, that means a lot, or I had to go to 5 stores to find this and it took me 2 hours. Like, sometimes we just don't express how tough or how difficult or how valuable things are, or how lucky they are to have it when we are giving.
Right. Thank you. Yes. So no conversation, no dialogue at home. When your child wants something, they just get it. You've worked 40, 50 hours this week and you get paid whatever, weekly or bi-weekly or whatever, but then your child only sees you when you're buying it, when you're using your credit card. So the child, oh, life is simple, just money grows on trees, you know? That credit card never stops. So no conversation about how hard it is or what work have we done in order for us to have that money. And even, like you said, Heba, like even having that job that is giving us that financial return, it's not something that everyone has. We are able to buy things while many others cannot. What else? What are your experiences? Like, why do you think, or like when you, okay, hold on. So don't look at your kids. Look at other kids, okay? That's a lot easier. Look at other kids and, you know, just think of some kids that you're like, man, those kids feel like the world kind of like evolves around them. What do you think is making those kids feel that the world evolves around them? In a really dramatic way. It's like if I don't get this, if I don't get what I'm asking for, then like my whole world is just collapsing and everyone is bad and like, you know, I hate my parents. Any real experiences here that anyone would like to share?
Yeah, I do have that experience where I want to be politically correct. I do travel a lot for work.
You don't need to be politically correct.
I see different cultures, and one thing that burns me every time I come and live back in the U.S. is that exact thing that you're talking about, the sense of entitlement. Not just across the kids, but across the parents, across almost, it's a cultural thing. Well, if I go back to the UK, or I go back even to crazy rich places like Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, or Saudi Arabia, or, you still feel that humbleness in the people, the way they talk, the way they ask, especially at work. So that reflects on me, and that reflects on my family later on, and that includes the extended family. That all goes out of the window once I come back to the States. It's just
why do you think that is?
I think it's cultural. I think it's just the way the culture is. I was surprised when my daughter was 5 years old. She was given a trophy. So I asked her, why are you getting a trophy? You guys got in a third place. Throw it in the bin. She said, no, I want to hold to it. I said, no, you don't deserve it. Just throw it away. If you don't come in the first place, it's okay. No problem. You can cry about it. But we will try and work harder to get it. Or you can quit. It's up to you. It doesn't matter to me. So on and on and on, I see this. Again, the only thing that I can comment on is because I do travel a lot, I have never seen this. I mean, literally have not seen this in kids around the world except in the U.S.
So, yeah, okay, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so there is some cultural aspect to it. Also because of like, you know, kind of the freedom of expression that we have, and, you know, that is that something we're entitled to as human beings or not?
Not to the degree I see.
Freedom of expression.
Still not to the degree. Everything has to have boundaries. Everything has to have boundaries.
Okay.
I'm not talking about godly, Orthodox, Catholic. I'm not talking about these. I'm just talking about generally speaking.
Right.
We need boundaries in our lives.
Okay.
We're created by the parenting system. We're created by the church system.
Right.
We're created by the cultural agreements. We need boundaries.
Okay, great point. So we are entitled to freedom of expression, but that doesn't mean that, just like Paul said, you know, كل الأشياء تحل لي ولكن ليست كل الأشياء توافق. I'm sorry, I can't remember that verse in English. But basically, just because something is legal, it doesn't mean it's right. And it doesn't mean that it's moral. So,
I think the kids they use the phrase, I need to be in the in these days. Is it because of comparison with other kids that they feel entitled? Does comparison and wanting to be in the in, I have the latest phone, I have this one, like, is it to feel like part of a group, like a sense of belonging?
Well, I think it's more of fear of missing out, not more than belonging. Because if there is a group that you can only belong to if you have the latest iPhone, you're better off without that group. And the parents need to have a very strong stance on this. You know, like, you cannot compromise, or like you cannot just simply bend your concept and the rules that you live up to just because a group is enforcing that on you. So I think it's more a fear of missing out, especially because kids are trying to figure out where they belong in life and where they fit. But also they want to be the best, and they're trying to understand that. And there is nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong when your kid comes to you and say, I want this because other kids have it. You can simply say, just because someone else has it, it doesn't justify you having it. And you sit with that, and you have the final say. And that's one of the things that we were going to talk about, is that as parents, we do need to have the final say. And it's, yes.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this issue. We're having a same kind of discussion with other parents, but I would like to throw the fireball to the parents, because we have noticed that like some parents, when they are moving from one financial stage like range to the other, they try to show that one on their kids by just buying something like unnecessary stuff. Mm-hmm. For example, like the kids, they come and ask me to buy them an electric scooter.
Yeah.
But for a 9-year boy, for an 8-year boy, an electric scooter has nothing to. It has no benefit for him, unless you use it for transport. But they need to show for their financial capability on their kids, so that the kids is getting many stuff that he doesn't even need for that period of time.
Thank you. Yeah.
So the kids is developing some kind of entitlement in time, while the parent is showing he's just developing his mental capability on others people's mind, because he's showing that I'm able to take my kids to Dubai, maybe to any other way, but the child actually doesn't need to go to Dubai.
Right. Yeah, so if I understand you correctly, you're saying that that parents actually sometimes, like as parents, we do some stuff to kind of like show our, socioeconomic status and, how well off we are. And then we actually, by doing that, we're creating kids who have, sense of entitlement. Yes, thank you. Yes, great point. And here is the other thing. We can actually create a sense of entitlement with our kids without us having a sense of entitlement. We can basically have an insecurity that we act, based on, that it shows off. Like it's like we're showing off, and by showing off, our kids are getting all these things that they don't actually need, and then they live that lifestyle, and then all of a sudden, when they don't have it, it's like there's something wrong. It's like flipped backwards. We need to teach our kids that you're loved, you're not perfect, you're wired for struggle, but you will persevere, and that you're resilient. And your resiliency, you can learn skills to be more resilient every day, more than the previous day. So, but on the other, it's like I said, it's going backwards now. It's like because of the kind of like the social welfare that we live in, and easy access to a lot of things. By us having insecurities, we actually can create entitled kids. And you bring up also a very good point. It's this idea of getting the kids what they want versus what they need. Because by saying no to things, we need to kind of like categorize, is this something that they need or they want? If your kids needs like art supplies for school, and then you say no because you don't want them to, you don't want to get them everything, well, you're making a mistake. But if they say, but if you take them to buy art supplies and then they want to buy, like a really very expensive set that they actually don't need, and there is like another one that they can use, that's your say. It's not their say. Because if it's going to do the purpose and it's within your budget limit, they need to, you don't even need to. So sometimes you do need to explain to them, this is what you need. You don't need that. I'm not going to just spend my money unwisely after all the hard work I've done. Now that can be a tough conversation to have with a kid, and then you're stuck with a tantrum or stuck with them saying, I hate you, and they're not talking to you for a couple days or like a week. That's okay. But it's hard on us, right? Because sometimes we did not, like when we were children, we did not get that appropriate love and affection that we need from our parents. So we're trying to give them everything we didn't get, but we overdo it. Because we cannot stand the feeling of a child not getting what they want. So we need to differentiate between needs and wants. So just a couple funny ideas about like if a kid says like, oh, I want this and I want it now. Or you can say, oh, you want this? A parent actually took the phone and took a picture of it. And he was like, I get it, you want it. So we're not buying it? No, I know you want it, but we're not gonna buy it. And you just let them sit with that. Another idea that was shared by one of our friends was like, well, you want it, you gotta wait for your birthday. We can get you that as your gift. And you get one gift within the budget limit. If it's beyond, you need to start saving for it. Now they're gonna hate you, right? They're gonna hate you for quite a while. That's okay. That's okay. They're gonna see that the impact of this style of parenting on them later on, and they're gonna thank you. And you're doing right by them because trust me, you wouldn't want to deal with an adult who have a great sense of entitlement. It's a lot. Because it increases that narcissistic behavior as well. They're not going to be necessarily narcissistic, but they're going to have narcissistic behavior that it's all about me. Like they might even have road rage, because if someone cuts them off, they'll be like, what, they cannot just see me? And a lot of accidents are caused by entitled drivers. And entitled drivers have a correlation with ADHD. Because that sense of entitlement, I want it now, we're not helping the child kind of like develop that skill of waiting and managing their thoughts and managing their emotions. It's a shortcut. So, with that being said, also, entitled kids, they do not like accountability. Like, again, if you get a call from the teacher and your kid is not doing great at school, or the report doesn't show that they're doing okay, and then you go talk to them, they will give you every single excuse that it's not their fault. And when you ask about they're studying and all that, well, they're not. No, it's not my fault. I go to school every day, and I'm not getting good grades. The other thing is, with entitled kids, there is great discomfort with frustration. So many things, or so many reasons, behind our anger as adults is that we don't have frustration tolerance. And that's something that we can develop over time, even as adults. It's something that it will be extremely helpful to teach our kids. And it would have been extremely helpful if we've learned more of it when we were children. But it's not something that we cannot learn now. It's our frustration tolerance. It's like, I'm so frustrated with my spouse right now, but I'm going to channel that in a way that we can have a conversation or even take a timeout, but I'm going to channel it in a different way than just being angry. So you come home from work after a long day, having a couple arguments with your boss or with a coworker, or coming back from a trip and the flight was delayed and all of that, and then all of a sudden your kid asks you for something they need, not want, they need, and then you just lash out. That's because there is no proper emotional regulation. And we can increase our emotion regulation by working on our frustration tolerance. All right. So we talked about the reasons why we have entitled kids. One is we don't have a conversation. One of them is culture. One of them is us as parents or as adults are dealing with our insecurities in a way that actually feeds into our kids' sense of entitlement. Okay, some parents are very democratic, you know, like my kids have an equal say in decision making. You know, like I will not make a decision unless my child approves it. And that is not psychologically healthy. Because this actually acting as a parent and having the final say gives them a sense of safety, especially when you make healthy decisions. So treating them as peers, you know, and then like, it's like you're talking to a friend, you know, and then like whatever they, you know, like it's like you can't decide without them approving it. That feeds into a sense of entitlement. You need, as a parent, to have the final say. You need to have the conversation, but you need to have the final say.
I think it really depends on the age group of kids for what you're saying. I see it very much for younger kids, but in teenage years, from my limited experience, it actually helped trying to have them go through the drill of thinking of a problem and what decision we're going to make. It's like setting them up for adulthood almost.
Right.
It's true, we have the last decision. Like we get to veto whatever they say.
Mm-hmm.
But going through the drill
Yep.
in older teenage years of thinking and making decisions, why did you base this decision on, things like that,
Right.
is a good transition.
Right.
Older years.
I agree. So having the conversation it needs to be always there, but it needs to be age appropriate. You know, like if you, especially with a teenager, you're preparing them for adulthood, to make decisions on their own. So you might need to have more detailed conversations with them, but let's say your teenage boy, who is still not working or working part-time and cannot save enough money, and it starts driving and they want to buy a brand new car. Are you going to do that? Can you financially do it? It's going to boil down to that you are the one making the decision. If they don't want your help, all right, you accept that and then you support them in their decision. But if they're not going to accept that, well, all right, you need to work for it and get the money to buy a brand new car and pay for your own insurance. With a child, let's say a 3-year-old who is like crying because they couldn't get that toy. You can simply hug them and say, I know you want that toy. And you can have a system around like how many toys can you have at home. Some parents, one of the techniques that you can use with your child when they want another toy is, okay, if you want this toy, which toy at home that you will give to someone else? Because you buy a new one, we have to get rid of an old one. Now, this is like hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. You're actually teaching them to give, and then kind of like think about like how they attach to things, like how do they attach to toys, which one they want to give up. But then, you're not going to do that every time they ask for a toy. You have to say like, okay, well, you can only get toys, you can get toys on your birthday, on Christmas, or, you make clear expectations. Like when they said in the video, like we want to give them promises and not break them. And we have to be consistent. That's the number one thing that make kids impulsive when we as adults are not consistent. Because they turn into that survival mode, like I'm gonna just get it whenever I can, because I don't know if I'm gonna get it in the future or not. Because the adult cannot keep the promises with me. So the conversation needs to be age appropriate. The point you mentioned about getting a trophy for 3rd place, it's actually mentioned here in this article by a doctor in psychiatry, in psychology, who said rewarding kids for showing up, giving trophies for showing up, So in a way, kids need recognition for their efforts, which is kind of like goes back to the growth mindset that we talked about a few months ago. Helping the kids have growth mindset versus fixed mindset. So you recognize the effort and you applaud them, but it's as if like the reward needs to be kind of like proportionate to what they have done. And you need to kind of like frame it in a way that this is a recognition for your efforts. It's not a bribe for you to kind of like have to kill yourself to get that reward. And like you said, and if you don't get first place, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's not like we don't love you anymore. That's okay. But you need to kind of like work with your kid so that they can understand how to evaluate the work they've done, the effort they've put in, and get back an appropriate reward for that. We touch base on never saying no to our kids, and then us as adults modeling entitled behavior. Okay, so how do we talked a little bit about how to fix that. So, for sake of time, and just to kind of like make it concrete a little bit, you want to do two things. The most important two things you can do with your child is to build resiliency. So, how many parents here have kids who love to do homework? They just love it. They do? God bless you. Amazing. Here you go, another one. So, that kind of speaks of, positive factors, but a lot of kids do not like to do homework, especially when it's a subject that they don't like. If they're passionate about, or if they like math and they don't want to study science or geography or history. So actually helping them build the resiliency by doing what they do not like, what they're not passionate about the most, and kind of like accompanying them in that journey and supporting them. And when they're finished, you say, you did it. The more they do that, they're building resilience. Sometimes you need to tell your kid, like straight, it's part of life that we do things that we don't like. And if we don't do them, we have larger consequences. It's part of life. So how many of us has a job that we love everything about it? It's like, there is nothing I don't like about my job. How many of us? You liked every single thing about it? Okay, at some point. So, but not all the time. Okay. So, most likely, those chances rarely happen, or like, I want to hear more actually from you because I want to know what that job is. But even when we're doing something that we're so passionate about, there is something about every job that we just don't like. Well, if we are the most renowned, employee, whatever, and we don't do that part, well, we're not gonna stay long in that position. So, by actually helping your child go through doing the things they don't like, you're helping them build resiliency, and that will create a very responsible adult in the future. When we're talking about responsibility, you want to hold your kids accountable, and they need to have accountability figures in their life so that they can understand that their actions have consequences. And then the last thing is actually exposing your kids to other cultures. And I'm not sure if we have had a mission trip for teenagers here before. Okay, so I know that is something that a lot of churches do.
2 years ago, they went to Kenya, I believe, with Abuna I think Abuna Michael as well.
Okay.
And they went to Hawaii for.
Yeah, so sending our kids, on mission trips to other places, and they do volunteer work, and they do, charity work, or whatever kind of work that benefits the other, actually diminishes that sense of entitlement, because they see other people who were born and they live in this world just like them, and they don't have access to all these things. It creates that sense of gratitude. It kills entitlement at its core. So if you can't send your kid on a mission trip, you can take your kids on and volunteer at a homeless shelter, giving food, or like at the soup kitchen or something. You can simply buy a meal and go walk down the street and have your kid give it to a homeless person. And you tell them, we get to eat food. Yes. Yeah. But the entitlement blinds us and blinds our kids. They walk down the street and there are a bunch of homeless people. They don't even see them. I'm not asking us to go and solve the problem, but you want to create compassion, because entitlement kills that compassion in the kids. All right, it's almost 8 o'clock, and I want to just give an opportunity for any questions or comments.
Just one quick comment. When it comes to the job, where I come from, we typically don't use the word like. So just as a caution from where I come from, just for the sake of integrity, a job is a job. Man up and do it. So there is, we don't leave a door open for likes and dislikes.
Right.
So it's just as a general comment. If you really want that job and you work hard to get that job, like and dislike is home.
Yep.
You're doing your job, go back home and like whatever else that you.
Okay.
So that's my background.
Yeah. So, but then someone like you wouldn't be able to do this job if you don't develop resilience. So we can have all beliefs, right? We can have very positive, strong beliefs, and we still can't do it. And that's why we have a lot of people who are really suffering because of their work. Because if someone was raised and all they hear is that if you're going to be a doctor and you're going to love it, and that's all you're hearing, and the parents are not helping build the resiliency, you're going to be saving lives and hating yourself. So, I think it will be unfair and very harmful if we raise our kids that way and not help them build the resiliency. Because, we come from an honor and shame culture too. And it will be really hard for someone, who is in one of those jobs and be like, oh, I hate it, I can't do it. Or I really can't, I'm struggling with the paperwork in my job, I just hate it. They'd be like, dude, grow up, or man up. So, I really thank you for bringing up that point, because it's very harmful to kind of raise kids with that, work ethic without equipping them. Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments? It's easy, right? It's easy. Yeah, it's a very easy thing to do, and it's just a lot of joy, and you're not gonna pull your hair out. You're not gonna go home and want to hold a pillow and scream in it because of the tantrums that you're gonna get. Because it's much easier to give your kid a tablet. I'm guilty of it. Today I was very exhausted, and I have a 10-month-old son, and I just played, Christian songs. I'm not gonna do wrong by him. I played Christian songs, and he sat there, and he was absorbed in the cartoon and the lyrics and the music, but what's going on there? A lot of dopamine. Even if it's Christian music, they need to be able to just sit there and be bored and explore. He's gonna cry before he starts exploring, and he's gonna give me a headache. And if I am stressed out, he's gonna stress me out even more. That doesn't give me the right to just say, all right, here's a tablet. I'm struggling with it. I'm not gonna lie. But it just doesn't give me the right to do that. So if we want healthier adults, we need to work now on helping them create more resiliency every day by just helping them go through the process of whatever they don't like. And when they do it, you recognize the effort. All right? Yeah.
أنا مش لابسة النضارة.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. في احصائيه بس مش فاكر الارقام بالظبط يعني بتقول ان متوسط الحاجات الاشياء اللي يمتلكها الفرد دلوقتي في امريكا تساوي 30 فرد مش عارف من 70 80 سنه. الحاجات اللي احنا بنمتلكها. اوكي 345 3, 4, 5. All right, here we go. Thank you. Okay. صح Memorial Day. 357. Three.
طب ازاي؟ انت 357
Oh yeah, okay, hold on. Okay. 355. 355. All right. Very good. Okay. I'll just invite you that let's pray and then we can head home. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day, and we thank you for just your word that guides us and your spirit that gives us strength. We thank you for dying for us on the cross and for giving us hope, and that you are the way, the truth, and the life. I pray that you guide us, Lord, as we raise our children. We guide us in the healing process, and you reveal to us the things that we need to change so that we can help raise children for your kingdom. Hear us when we pray, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us our daily bread, forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us into temptation, deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the power, the glory. Amen.
غير ما فيش ما فيش بابل ستادي عشان تبقوا عارفين يعني كل